The cap jumped to $301.2 million per team for 2026, the first time the NFL has ever crossed $300 million. On the surface, that sounds like relief. Therefore, the conversation turns into the same easy question every year: who won? What the contracts, releases, trades, and restructures actually tell you once the money has to leave the building. This is the point that keeps getting missed. In this video, we'll uncover the most important free agency moves and explain in a simple way. Let's ride.
Welcome to Dawg Sports, where all sports matter.
Dolphins Rebuild. And no team said more in 1 week than the Dolphins. Following a highly disappointing 2025 season, Miami has executed one of the most aggressive, tear-it-down-to-the-studs roster rebuilds in modern NFL history. First, owner Stephen Ross fired head coach Mike McDaniel, bringing in GM John Eric Sullivan and head coach Jeff Hafley from Packers. And wow, this new regime immediately purged the roster. They cut massive contracts like Tua Tagovailoa and Tyreek Hill, and even traded star Jalen Waddle. This created an unprecedented $182 million in dead cap. It's exactly like intentionally burning a luxury mansion to the ground just to finally get a clean, debt-free plot for 2027. When Miami released Tua, it wasn't a normal parting. It was a franchise-scale reversal. A few years ago, Tua was supposed to be proof that the long search was over. He was the fifth pick come from Bama. He got the extension, and he had the big passing season in 2023. Just moving on from him cost a record $99.2 million in dead cap. That's the first big lesson of this offseason. Teams don't wait for perfect conditions to tell the truth. Sometimes the truth arrives in the form of a brutal invoice, and Miami didn't stop with the release. They signed Malik Willis to a 3-year, $67.5 million deal with $45 million fully guaranteed. Willis is a dual-threat quarterback known for having a rocket launcher for an arm and elite rushing ability. In 2022 draft, he was selected by the Titans as a third-round pick in one of the worst QB classes in recent years. In a limited sample size during the 2025 season, Willis posted a stellar 134.6 passer rating and demonstrated remarkable efficiency as both a passer and a runner in several games, including an astonishing performance against the Bears, where he balled out and showcased that he may have the potential to be a starting quarterback. But honestly, how is Willis supposed to survive, let alone develop, when the front office just traded away every elite pass catcher he could possibly throw to? In order to rebuild this barren roster around Willis, Miami is heavily relying on the 2026 NFL Draft. Bolstered by the Waddle trade, they now possess 11 draft picks, including 2 first-rounders to infuse cheap young talent. They are sacrificing a single season to escape salary cap hell and build a heavily funded powerhouse for the future. Now let's dig into the quarterback market. There was one team that took advantage of the Dolphins' situation. It was the Falcons. Michael Penix Jr. is central to the long-term picture. That part has not changed, but Penix is coming off a torn ACL, and the Falcons' new front office openly framed Tua as a competitor, not a ceremonial backup. That language matters. They use the market to buy insurance at the cheapest possible rate, and that same cold honesty showed up across the entire quarterback market. That's a major shift in tone, and it says a lot about how teams currently value the position once you move below the true franchise tier. Daniel Jones is a clean example. Both Tua and Penix are left-handed, leading some to call the Falcons' QB room the Leftorium. They will be working under head coach Kevin Stefanski and alongside elite playmakers like Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. A strong offense in the paper, but will they pull off something different this season and make Falcons great again? I want to know y'all take about it. That's a major shift in tone, and it says a lot about how teams currently value the position once you move below the true franchise tier. Daniel Jones is a clean example. Colts re-signed him to a 2-year, $88 million deal that can reach $100 million with incentives after originally placing the franchise tag on him. Meanwhile, Geno Smith is landing in New York to play for the Jets. He'll be reminded of his early NFL years, and probably that punch too. Aaron Rodgers has yet to announce a definitive decision regarding his future in Pittsburgh. Last year, he didn't reach a decision until June. Steelers' front office appears to be operating under the assumption that Rodgers will return. Or at the very least, they are committed to a win-now philosophy that necessitates a veteran elite quarterback. The team has been aggressive in acquiring veteran talent rather than initiating a rebuild. Key acquisitions include the receiver Michael Pittman Jr. and the great back, Rico Dowdle. if Rodgers decides not to return to Pittsburgh to work with Mike McCarthy again. Steelers leadership is reportedly being smart enough to grant Rodgers the time he needs. They are avoiding the use of the word deadline to maintain professional credibility and a positive relationship with the veteran quarterback. Because, it could kind of affect Aaron's ego. That is the same size of California. And perhaps the most interesting move, Kyler Murray arriving in Minnesota. That is one of the most revealing quarterback moves in the entire class because of how compressed it is. A former top pick, a highly gifted player, a quarterback with real starting history, and the market answer is 1 year for the entire 2026 season. This is what they're paying Kyler Murray, just $1.3 million. That is the absolute bare minimum salary for a veteran player, for a guy who is a number 1 overall pick. For that exact same season, the Arizona Cardinals are paying Kyler Murray a whopping $36.8 million to not play for them. Yep, that's the guaranteed cash they still owed him from his old contract. And it's the real key to understanding this whole paradox we're about to break down. Mensa made the decision of, let Darnold go to the Seahawks, and y'all already know the result of this decision. He chose J.J. McCarthy, their first-round pick from 2024. He was supposed to be the guy, the future. But after missing 25 out of a possible 35 games with injuries and not really lighting it up when he was on the field, the front office realized they couldn't risk another year of Justin Jefferson's prime waiting on a young guy to develop. And so this is where our two stories collide and create this incredible opportunity. Murray was the face of the Cardinals franchise. He's made over $200 million in his career so far. He's absolutely in that above-average tier of NFL quarterbacks. And you have to understand that because it's what makes his new $1.3 million salary with the Vikings even more shocking. Okay, so how on earth did the Cardinals end up in a spot where paying someone millions not to play for them was actually their best option? It all started with this colossal contract extension, a deal that was supposed to lock down their future, but ended up holding it hostage instead. But then things kind stuck, and the team started to underperform. Murray was battling injuries, and Cardinals had a deadline. If Murray was still on the team on a certain date, and another $19.5 million of his contract would become guaranteed. So they had to make a choice, and they chose to just rip the Band-Aid off and cut their losses. For Murray, the decision to sign with Vikes was actually a deeply personal one. He grew up in Texas as a die-hard Vikings fan. He's even talked about how he cried real tears when they lost that NFC Championship game way back in 2009. Plus, he already had a relationship with head coach Kevin O'Connell, who he'd known since he was in high school. O'Connell didn't just sell him on being a one-year patch, he sold him on the vision of being a long-term solution. He put all that together, and Minnesota became the perfect landing spot. Can you imagine all calls O'Connell can do now with a double-threat quarterback? Murray basically has 1 year to prove he can get back to being a Pro Bowl-level player and earn himself another big contract. And what about McCarthy, the forgotten man in all this? He's now got to fight just to prove he even has a future in the league? Which brings us right back to the big question, doesn't it? Is this a genius franchise-saving gamble that could make them a legit Super Bowl contender? Or they just mortgage their future for a one-year shot at glory, just delaying a painful rebuild that's going to have to happen eventually? Raiders signed Kirk Cousins to what appears to be a 5-year, $172 million deal. However, it is functionally a 1-year, $11 million guaranteed contract designed to manage the salary cap. He's arriving to serve as a bridge quarterback. His presence does not change the team's plan to draft Fernando Mendoza with the first overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Raiders' new head coach Clint Kubiak prefers that rookie quarterbacks sit and learn rather than starting immediately. This approach is intended to protect Mendoza while he transitions from college to the NFL. Raiders' current offensive environment is not fertile for a rookie. While they have talent like Brock Bowers and the newly arrived Tyler Linderbaum, the receiving core remains weak, and the offensive line requires more protection for a young passer. Running back. For years, the easy take was simple. Never pay backs, rotate bodies, draft fresh legs, keep it cheap, treat production as replaceable. That was always a little too neat, and 2026 made that even more obvious. Kenneth Walker III to Kansas City is the headline because it is not just a running back deal. It is an offensive diagnosis. The Chiefs signed SBMVP to a 3-year deal worth up to $45 million, with $28.7 million guaranteed. He's a visible answer to a problem Kansas City clearly believed was holding the offense back. They also gave a new contract to Kelsey. What do you think about these Chiefs moves? Will Mahomes play like his prime God version this season? Drop in the comments. Travis Etienne signed a 4-year, $52 million deal with the Saints. On the surface, that can look aggressive, but New Orleans is building around a less settled quarterback picture, and in that kind of environment, a dynamic back does more than carry the ball. He calms the offense. He gives the play caller easier answers. He takes pressure off the drop-back game. Denver re-signing J.K. Dobbins on a 2-year, $20 million deal tells a different story, but it still fits the same logic. They were telling you that continuity, familiarity, and reliable production matter in an offense that wants to keep moving without unnecessary disruption. Sometimes what a team believes about itself is not dramatic at all. Sometimes the truth is simply this: we like the shape of what we already have, and we do not want to reset that part of the build. Arizona signing Tyler Allgeier for 2 years and $12.25 million is quieter, and that is exactly why it is useful. They bought a player who can function while the larger questions keep getting sorted out. So no, the lesson is not that the league suddenly loves paying running backs again. The lesson is sharper than that. The league will pay a running back when the team sees a direct line from that player to a specific offensive fix. It tells you exactly what the team thinks it is missing. Then you flip to defense, and the message gets even louder. Because if offense showed you what teams wanted, defense showed you what they feared. And the Max Crosby saga was the clearest reminder of all of it. Baltimore had a trade lined up that would have sent Crosby to the Ravens for 2 first-round picks. Let that breathe for a second. 2 firsts. That is what an elite pass rusher looked like on the market before the deal collapsed over medical concerns tied to Crosby's knee. That alone tells you a lot. A contender with serious goals was willing to take on future pain in draft capital because it believed one pass rusher could move the championship needle right now. Then the trade dies after the physical. That matters just as much because it shows the other side of the edge market. Teams will pay almost any premium for real pressure, but they will still slam the brakes if the medical risk threatens the value of the entire bet. The Ravens told the league 2 things in less than 48 hours. First, they believed their pass rush problem was big enough to justify an enormous swing. Second, they were disciplined enough not to let desperation overrule the medical file. And then came the pivot. Baltimore signed Trey Hendrickson to a 4-year, $112 million deal. Let's see if it could help Lamar finally go to the Super Bowl. Panthers gave Jalen Phillips a 4-year, $120 million deal. Massive money, serious risk. Phillips has injury history, and nobody serious should pretend that detail does not matter. But the Panthers paid anyway, and that tells you exactly how they see their defense. They see a pass rush problem severe enough that even with the risk, the upside was worth the commitment. That is not reckless if the front office believes the defense simply can't keep playing toothless football on the edge. Commanders did the same kind of truth-telling with Odafe Oweh, giving him 4 years and $100 million, with $68 million guaranteed. These two pay it because they think disruption that edges can make changes everything else. Pressure shortens drives. And then there is the corner market, where the language gets just as blunt. Rams traded for Trent McDuffie and extended him for 4 years and $124 million. That deal landed with real force because it captured where modern defenses are. If you can cover at a high level, you give the entire structure more freedom. You call games differently. You survive better on 3rd down. You force quarterbacks to hold the ball longer. And if the quarterback holds the ball longer, the pass rush has a better chance to finish. Coverage and pressure are not separate economies. They feed each other, and they brought Jalen Watson, McDuffie's former Chiefs teammate, signed a 3-year, $51 million deal with $34 million guaranteed, reinforcing the cornerback depth and adding a physical, high-impact player. McVay really won a 1 more run to Super Bowl with the great Stafford, MVP, and this signs can help them out. Wide receiver. As I said sooner, Pittsburgh traded for Michael Pittman and gave him a new 3-year, $59 million deal. That move is about reliability, function, and 1 more name to Rodgers' cuss. Even if a bad head coach move like Steelers did, they have a pretty room of receivers in their team right now, with Metcalf and Pittman. Giants signing Isaiah Likely to a deal that can reach $47.5 million. He is a mismatch piece, a player who can create problems for linebackers, stress safeties, and give the prodigy quarterback Dart a target with shape and flexibility. That is a team saying we need easier answers in the middle of the field. Bills get DJ Moore from Bears and a 5th rounder. In return, the Bears get a 2nd round pick. for $15 million in guaranteed cash. So why would the Bills pay up like that? What exactly are they getting in DJ Moore? Well, for one, he fills that huge WR1 hole that digs left. He's a versatile deep threat. Buffalo is telling you exactly where it wanted help. More support for the quarterback, more disruption on defense, more balance around the star at the center of the whole operation. What was the thinking from the Bears side of things? This was a big bet. See, his role in Chicago is actually shrinking a bit. They've younger, cheaper guys coming up. And a lot of folks think the Bears totally fleeced him. They basically sold at peak value. Bottom line for Chicago, it was a smart way to cash in an asset to fix other roster holes. So what's next for the Bears? They've got a new pick and a whole lot of cash. Between this trade and a recent retirement, Chicago just cleared up over $26 million in cap space. He's reuniting with coach Joe Brady. That chemistry is already baked in their time in Carolina. What about the champs? Seahawks' financial masterclass and Jackson Smith-Njigba's record-breaking contract. He signed a 4-year, $168.6 million extension with $120 million guaranteed. That's $42.15 million a season, shattering Jamar Chase's record. We've got to talk about the dead cap miracle. Seattle carries a tiny dead cap of just $484,000. Contrast that with Dolphins eating over $180 million or Bills drowning in $46 million. So how do you afford history's most expensive receiver? Simple. You don't waste cash paying ghosts. Finally, there's the quarterback discount. Seattle pays Super Bowl winning QB Sam Darnold a bargain $33 million a year, way below the $60 million market average. By saving cash there and letting expensive running backs like Kenneth Walker walk in free agency, with Pittman's farewell, Colts are re-signing Alec Pierce to a deal that can reach $116 million. This was one of the louder receiver moves. Even if the number raised eyebrows, the logic underneath it is still sound. Pierce gives them vertical stress, stretches coverage, and creates fear of the deep ball. And even when he's not the target, they're betting on him to be the WR1, and the money he'll receive is proof of the franchise's trust in him. The Titans signing Wan'Dale Robinson adds another version of the same idea. That deal is about quick separation and easy access throws, a help for Cam Ward to keep him out of bad down-and-distance situations, which he didn't have at all last season. 49ers adding Mike Evans says something else entirely. That move says they wanted size, finishing power, and a different type of receiving presence than the one they have leaned on for years. It says they looked at their offense and decided precision and creation were not enough on their own. They wanted a big target who changes red zone pictures and gives the quarterback a different answer when the play needs to be simpler, not prettier. And of course, have a Hall of Fame receiver in their roster to improve even more the chances of Purdy reach his full potential, and why not go to Super Bowl again? That is the real scoreboard of free agency. Not the loudest move, not the prettiest graphic, the clearest confession. And now the next question gets even better. March told us what teams fear. April is going to tell us whether they actually know how to fix it. Because the draft is where these confessions get tested. The teams that told the truth in free agency just showed us exactly where they think the roster is fragile. The next layer is whether their draft boards line up with that truth or whether they start lying to themselves again. So what do you think about these moves? Do you think your team could win Super Bowl? Drop in the comments below. If you like the content, drop subscribe. Thanks for your view. Bye-bye.